As I reflect on my life, not just 2024, I have to come clean. I was saved at the age of 16, but after 4 decades, I quit the church. I'll tell you why. Keep watching. As a creator and somebody who does videos for YouTube, somebody who's retired, I get asked very often, how is the religious situation here in Panama? How is the church? Will I be able to find a church where I can serve like I did in the US? And very often I have to answer, it's like, I don't know, because I don't go to church here in Panama. I quit going to church about 8 years ago. And I want to have this conversation with you because it appears like I am bucking the trend. According to the Pew Research Center, people tend to go back to going to church on a regular basis as they age, possibly because we are nearing, the end, and we're thinking more about the hereafter and all that. But I don't go to church anymore. So I want to take you along my journey that took me from being saved at the age of 16, and I can see it vividly at a church meeting, and to where I am now. I am not an agnostic, but I have quit being part of the organized church. So you want to wait and sit, get some coffee. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. But before we get any further, you know who I am. If you don't, my name is Maggie Lazar. I'm a retired nurse practitioner, and I have been retired here in Panama since January 2023, close to my anniversary, 2-year anniversary. I am very grateful to be here, to be alive, to enjoy the sunshine, the beautiful weather. Thank you, Panama. So also, I am the creator of SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad, a group of sassy older ladies, who have retired here, made a conscious decision to spend the rest of our days here in this beautiful country, create sisterhood, create community while we reinvent ourselves. So if any of this sounds of interest to you, I invite you to like the video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that notification bell so that you know whenever I post a video or I go live, which is every Sunday at 10 o'clock. I do a cooking show when I do cooking and chatting with Maggie. We do address different topics during our lives. I think I cut my finger while I was cooking this week. So please don't be distracted by my Band-Aid. Okay. This is a serious conversation. According to the Pew Research Center, people tend to gravitate to church as they get older. Now, when you are growing up, depending on the household, what your parents believed and what the religious activities were, maybe you were forced to attend church. Kids will, you see them dancing in church, singing. I remember my son was maybe 3 or 4 months old, and I was holding him, and I was in a congregation, they were singing, and he started doing, he's in an environment, it's catchy. So as kids grow up, they tend to embrace their parents' patterns of behavior, right? Because they always say, you tell the kids, don't do as I say, don't do as I do as I say. But kids tend to be a mirror of you as a parent. Now, as they start getting older, they want to carve out their own path. And especially when they go to college and they get in contact with some agnostic teachers or New Agers or whatever, they start questioning everything. My situation was a bit different. When I was growing up, I grew up in a Catholic environment. My mom was divorced. She wasn't necessarily a churchgoer. My mom, I remember, she kind of jumped from one thing to another. But I did have a neighbor who was a Seventh-day Adventist, and this lady became my surrogate mom. She taught me everything I needed to know about keeping house, being a lady, all that stuff she taught me because my mom was busy working. So I was exposed to the Catholic Church, Seventh-day Adventist Church and faith, very active, wasn't questioning anything. But I remember when I was 16, we used to have home prayer meetings and on Fridays. I remember that. And I remember I went to one of those meetings, and then there was this lady. She had what I know now to be Parkinson's. She had the shake. And then I was there attending with someone, but I don't think it was anything religious on my part. I just was there. And she came and laid hands on me. And she said that the Lord had told her to do that and that I'm going to be doing this and that. And they prayed, and laid hands. And I confessed and I was saved. But to me, it was really a great thing. And remember, I don't know if I told you, I went to Catholic school from the time I was in kindergarten. So you have the Catholicism on one end, and this lady, the religion that she was part of was Protestantism, right? They were Protestants. So there was that, there was always that pull between being a Catholic and being a Baptist, right? So I took that seriously. When I went back to church, to my school, told my teachers I had converted, he'd make a big hoopla. Anyway, I followed through, and a lot of my family members followed suit and converted to Christianity. Because, in the Catholic faith, when I was growing up, I'm not judging anybody because I'm in a very Catholic country right now. It was more about the traditions, the things that we did. I don't remember, there was no focus on personal, intimate relationship with God and serving. You just went because that's what everybody did, and it was all the holidays. And because even here, I went to a Catholic church one time, even though they were speaking in Spanish, and I was like, oh, it's the same thing. The creed, and when you get up and you kneel, it hadn't changed. So it was a lot more about traditions and religious practices, right? So here I am, the 16, went to college, and I'm a full-fledged Christian. And I loved being a Christian. I love present being a Christian, right? So I was part of a church when I was in New York. I told a little bit of my story about the hardships I experienced in New York, being alone as an 18 green-eyed and innocent little girl. So the church embraced me. It was a Baptist church. It became my family. So that was my sustenance. Yesterday, I was watching this young lady who lives in Canada and crying. This is the holiday season where if you have some emotional stuff bubbling up, the holidays tend to bring it all to the fore. She's alone, so the depression was kicking in, and in my mind, I was thinking, I hope she would find a church like I found the church when I was young and alone, and they embraced me, and that was my lifeline. So I was into the church, youth group, and I've always had leadership qualities, and I'm not trying to, sound conceited or anything, but that's just something God has blessed me with. So I was, leading different groups, and the church was just my family. So married, we're not going to go into detail as to how that went down, but So still, my mate had converted as well. We, raised the kids, church every Sunday, Wednesday prayer meeting, involved the weekends, trips, you name it. So 20s, 30s, 40s, business, career, after school activities, volunteering, community involvement, busy, busy, busy. The Cape, I talk about the Cape. Cape was really large. But I love God. And I feel like God loves me. And I personally feel that, and we're going to remember that towards the end, that humans, that's my saying, that human beings are spiritual beings. I believe that we have an innate need to connect to a higher power. Now you choose which higher power you connect with. I felt a connection to God. Yes, granted, not everything I prayed for came to fruition, but I have felt the hand of God on my life in terms of what I say, how I see people. And of course, also growing up, I have developed a healthy respect for God, for anything related to God, not necessarily religious, but you were taught not to say the name of God in vain. Like I would not take a Bible and put it down on the ground. Those kind of things that are just kind of ingrained. I still, to this day, believe in those things. So I was busy, busy, busy. Life is going on. But you've always heard tangentially that, pastors are doing this, or they caught this one with a prostitute, or, I was very aware of the prosperity gospel, the mega churches, and all the things that they were doing. And I've always had a critical eye for those things. It's like, this is not the God I know. The God I know doesn't say you need to own a private jet to go from here to there. The God I know said you need to help the poor. The God I know says that you need to be humble. And that is not what I was seeing. But because it wasn't close to me, I did not worry about it so much. But so in my 40s, late 40s, kids are growing up, going to college, and of course, you're entering a different stage of life where you start to question some of your decisions that you made in your 20s. Then I was going through a divorce. Again, life is changing. And then now I became more aware of some things happening around me. Then I remember he wasn't a preacher, but he was a well-known, anyway, psychologist, I guess. And I remember when Bill Clinton, the president, had his little debacle with the intern, this particular man who had a international following, I followed him because he gave good advice on how raising kids. And he went on his radio program and just lambasted that guy, poor Bill Clinton. I don't know, I'm saying poor. But I mean, he talked about him like he was worse than a dog. And I was shocked because this is somebody who claimed he's a Christian. And again, those actions did not line up with what I believe, the God that I believed, the things that he was teaching in the Bible. And I was like, well, that's odd. And then I think a few weeks later, one of this person's buddies, who was pastor of a mega church in Florida, was caught with like a male prostitute or something. The same guy went on his radio station and said, oh, we're going to create an accountability group. We're going to, a bunch of pastors, we're going to pray for him. We're going to bring him back. They were preaching regeneration and grace. And I'm thinking, saying, what the hell? So you are able to extend grace to your buddy, but you can't extend the same grace to someone else, regardless. They were both guilty. And it was like, bing, something came up. It's like some scales starting falling off of my eyes. I'm saying there is a lot of hypocrisy in this church. So, and then, all the social things started to come together about how we are treated as a people versus another group, and the derogatory terms, and the system inequalities became more obvious to me. I mean, they were there. I just was not aware. They did not come into my sphere of, oh, this is what's happening. I was just living life, no time to think. But now that you're starting to enter a different phase in your life and you have time, and that's what we don't do when we are running. We never take time to sit still enough to think. And I believe clearly that this is what separates us from the animal. When I used to teach my kids, I'm like, before you make a decision, you got to think through before you get in the situation to make an on-the-spot decision. And I used to give him the analogy saying there are many people on death row right now because they were never trained to stop, think, count backwards, take a breath before you jump, say something, or make a decision. So when that guy went and he was showing grace to his body, and then this one is like a vermin, which is what some people are calling us. I said, okay, I see what's happening now. So I wrote him a letter. I did. I was so enraged. I said, you are a hypocrite. You are a two-faced Christian because Jesus did not make a distinction between this one and that one. So I said, forget it. I will no longer follow you. My little few cents, few dollars I used to send you, that is done. That was the beginning of me taking action when I felt that somebody who portrayed himself as being a Christian, just parading themselves on television and talking about God this, God that, and then all these fake, I call them, pastors started to just come out. And I know we are all mortals. I know that we are all sinners. But I'm going to tell you, I'm a sinner. I will never hold myself up to say, oh, God told me this, therefore I'm regenerated. It doesn't matter what I do. I recently read about this woman, pastor. She said, I watched her say it. She said, when I go to Target, it becomes holy ground. Okay, so who makes the ground holy? God or you? I believe she was equating herself to the Lord. I have a problem with that. I don't know about you. So all these things started to come, and I started to realize what I call the world order, understanding that all the things that have happened to us as a people, to other minorities, the genocides, the oppression, the inequality. I know it is a result of sin, but it also perpetrated by mankind, human beings doing awful things to each other. But what really upsets me the most is that some of these things are being done in the name of God. I have a problem with that. So I started taking stock of the megachurch pastors. All of them were sleeping around. This lady who called herself a pastor, she had an affair with another. She was married, had an affair with another married pastor while they were both in ministry, then divorced their partners, got together, just a bunch of shenanigans. And I'm like, I know I am a sinner. But I don't think you have the right to hold yourself up there representing Christ while you're living that lifestyle. The other day, there was one who said, well, if I did what you say I did, all I have to do is go ask God for forgiveness, and then it's like business as usual. Just such casual, it's like using the word as a scapegoat to just allow you to do all this crazy stuff. So I was sensitized to, at that point, late 40s, early 50s, I'm becoming more aware, okay? But I'm still going to church. Again, leading groups, enjoying life, community, like my last church in Florida. My family, love these folks. But did we have some, I don't know what we want to call them in there? Yes. And they told you that in church, that the devil sits right there and attends church with you. So it's up to you. But yes, if we see it and we acknowledge it and we're trying to actively work against it. But if I'm in an environment where you're embracing all this stuff, then I have a problem. So I am pre-conditioned. I'm looking at all this saying, oh my God, Maggie, you're just waking up to all this. I remember going to Europe in the 1990s and feeling, I was sitting at a cafe in Paris, and there was something that came to me, that there was a sense of a detachment. People in Paris, I felt at that time, were very secular. It was just the here and now. They were not concerned about the afterlife, spiritual things. Didn't get that. And my friend who lived there not too long ago, confirmed that. And of course, you notice you go to England and you go to Paris or to France, beautiful architecture, beautiful churches, but very few people in those churches. So Christianity after the Second World War was just, before, after, was booming with people going to church. How they carried this as a badge of honor. This country, the US, was founded on Christian beliefs. And in the name of those beliefs, they have done so many awful things. All the stuff they've done in Africa, are doing in Africa, the brainwashing that goes on, the things that are happening in the name of religion. Oh my God. So people started to wake up like I was waking up. So church attendance started to kind of go down a bit. And then Christianity started growing, of course, in Africa, because that's a lot of people in 54 countries, right? And when people are hungry and they're poor, they're prime candidate for you to sell them whatever. And they are actively selling, because I remember going to Ghana, I saw more churches than I saw businesses, okay? And so Christianity started growing in China and South Korea. You heard about all those big churches, and it's like a revival. Everybody getting a revival. But my sense of cynicism was growing, and I did not like it. Because I've become more cynical as I age, to my shame. So here comes 2016, and the environment is just circling. The rhetoric is just bubbling. Churches, pastors, everybody's just lapping this thing up, swallowing it, spreading it like wildfire. God, this is what God wants. This is the anointed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting still a little bit skeptical, right? But I'm still in church until the day I was sitting in church. And I was going to a church led by a woman. I don't know about the women pastors, but which was something I had to grow into, because the churches that I grew up in, women were not allowed to be pastors. It's always that yin-yang fighting. And I always believe that I am a thinking, intelligent human being. I don't need a pastor to go up there in the pulpit telling me who to vote for. And when an election comes, they're all inviting people on Sundays, politicians to come. And you start to look or say who they're inviting. What is their political affiliation? And you start to get a feel until the day this lady stood up from the pulpit and repeated an egregious lie about a candidate. And then I sat there and I said, you did not go there, did you? You did not go there. You did not. As a leader, these people don't realize the power that comes with their position, right? That's why here, even at SWRA, I have to be so careful what I say. Because as a leader, you have a heightened sense of responsibility to the people you're leading and the people around you. She stood there and she said that lie, which I will not repeat here. And my body froze. First of all, I'm like, you had no business telling this lie because it is a lie from the pits of hell. But that is the message that is being fed to you to go spread. And you're allowing yourself as a leader, spiritual leader, to be used like that. I got up, got my little bag, and walked out. And I have not been in church since. People, when I say, and it was like around the time I'm traveling, so people really, and then I moved, people didn't really understand what was going on until a day I posted it in a Facebook post, and somebody said, oh my God, Meg, you don't go to church, blah, 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 blah. Well, now you're finding out why. I have not been to church since. Now, okay, before I go any further, are you enjoying this conversation? This is part of my story. I don't know what your story is like, but if you're enjoying the conversation, please like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel, okay? Does that mean, though, that I have given up on God? Absolutely not. God has nothing to do with what these people choose to do and say. And I firmly believe that we will give account for what we have done here, good or bad. I am not perfect. But I believe that if you are anointed with a leadership position, a shepherd, I don't believe that all this prosperity crap that people are talking about. Oh, if I do the work, then I deserve the jet and the 16,000 square foot homes and the trips. And you become greedy. And this is the danger of not protecting yourself. You get caught in that, then it's downhill. Then you have no, what's the word I'm looking for? There is nothing to protect you, right? Because if you say, I deserve it, then you'll do whatever you can to get it. And in my mind, in my view, you lose credibility. And I don't believe I need to continue sitting under the leadership of somebody who's not following the word that he's trying to preach every day. If you're preaching against homosexuality and against fornication or whatever, and you're engaging in it, if you fall, you ask for forgiveness, well, the church probably will forgive you. Like the church, this young woman confronted a pastor who had abused her, and then the church rallied around him, not her, and prayed for him. There is no accountability. People feel entitled that because they have that title, they can do whatever. Oh, all I have to do is ask God for forgiveness and then I can go on and like nothing happened. I don't even know what the word is to describe that. So I have not given up on God. that fear, that healthy fear that was instilled in me as I was growing up is still there. And I said something last time that in this environment of people are insecure, people are unsettled, I feel that that spiritual connection that I believe human beings have, you can call it faith, you can call it whatever you want. I believe it's something that you need to sustain you, to keep you grounded, to keep you connected. I don't know that I would survive or have my wits about me if I didn't have that grounded belief, connection. You need to feel grounded in something. The people who flounder and just lose hope and just, you missing that. I have not given up on God. God is still forever present. I talk to him. I may ask for something. Now I'm like, if you want, I'm not demanding. If it happens, I give you the glory. If it doesn't happen, I keep it moving. Okay? So the Pew's research finding says that as people get older, they get closer to God. I'm still close to God. I just refuse to do it in an organized setting. I can't even imagine how much money I've given to churches. I could have given it to the poor. I could have given it to a charity. They didn't need my money. But at the same time, once you give, if I give to anything or anybody, I just give. I don't expect anything in return. So whatever you do with it is your business. You're going to have to give account. So this is my journey. I wanted to share with you that I'm bucking the trend about going to church. I don't believe in organized religion anymore. Too much has been done in the name of religion, genocide, racism, Jim Crow, all these things. They put God up front and then they hide behind that to commit all the atrocities. But you have to be connected. So for the Spirit of God to open your eyes so you don't let somebody manipulate your thoughts. When I see people just repeating this, spewing this nonsense, you've given up your ability to be rational, to see. Somebody would put something in front of someone like, oh, no, that's not it. That's not it. You become like little minions. You're being programmed. Don't allow that to happen to you. But only you can do that with God. I still have God, but I will not be part of that organized, whatever that is over there that people are doing. And I know it's not all of them. I have had a great model of a shepherd, a pastor. My pastor, the first pastor I met here in New York I love that man. So I know it's not all of them. But the ones who are just charlatans and just defacing the name of God should be called out. And God will deal with them. It's not my job. But my job is to say, no, what you said is wrong. This is not the God I believe in. I'm getting heated just thinking about it. So I just wanted to share my journey with you. So when you ask me about churches, I might go just to find information for you, but I'm not going to go under somebody's umbrella. I can create community somewhere else. I don't need to be in a church to have community, which is one of the great privileges of being a church member. Alrighty, I don't want this video to be long today because mine have been long lately and this is not what I want to do. So I hope you enjoyed this chat. My format for you guys, it's always chatting. I noticed a big drop in my views and subscriptions, but I'm not worried. I say, and I've told you that in the beginning of the month of the year, I'm just going to remain consistent, and then let it happen. If it happens, if God allows it, it will happen. All right, guys, have a wonderful year. This is my first video of 2025. We are grateful. We are blessed. We give God the glory. I thank God for you. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bonne journée. Mwah.